So there's a, you do get a little bit of help, perhaps financially by going with the label, and certainly they'll pay for many things, but at the end of the day, you don't own your music essentially.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Singing Simply, where through tips, tutorials, and interviews like these, we aim to simplify everything related to singing. So today I'm very, very excited to have the head of community at Beatchain, Joel, with me today. Thank you very, very much for joining me on the show.
Great to be here.
Yeah. So for, I guess to begin, for those in the Singing Simply community who aren't as familiar with you, Joel, tell me a bit about yourself.
Yep. So I'm the head of community at Beatchain. We're an app providing major label tools to independent artists. So if you don't have a record company or a manager taking care of a lot of activities for you, we provide a lot of that stuff via our sort of software and educational articles and things like that. And so we launched Beatchain back in June of last year. And so my role is to work closely with independent artists to help test and improve the tool set, and sort of write and curate the educational content to help artists understand the industry a bit more, help them release music, and to grow their fan bases. And the Beatchain platform facilitates a really wide range of artist activities, which will need a bit of explanation and inspiration to get the most out of them. So I write a lot about things like content strategy, social media ads, music distribution, and things like website and branding and online presence, and using analytics to make sure you're making the right decisions in your career.
Fantastic, fantastic. So from what I've kind of researched already, I know there's quite a few tools on Beatchain, and I would love to dive into that a bit more in a second. What I wanted to kind of maybe start off by where Beatchain kind of came from. So obviously you guys are trying to target the independents. Was there a reason or story behind Beatchain?
Yeah, so I think if we go back sort of thinking about the music industry maybe 10 or 15 years ago, there's been some sort of major technological changes, which are largely due to like streaming services and social media, and then to a lesser extent sort of software and sort of recording devices. And the industry's really become a lot more democratized. So the barriers to entry for artists are lower now than they've ever been. So for example, on the streaming side, you don't necessarily need a label to foot the bill for distribution. People aren't buying CDs anymore. It's all streaming services that you pretty much send an audio file and a little bit of album artwork to, and that's then available for your fans to see. So you don't have to worry about pressing CDs, printing the artwork, and shipping it around. So certainly the upfront cost in order to actually get your music out there is much lower than it used to be. And then on the social media side, you can now directly talk to your fans, which you couldn't really do before.
Yeah.
Also through email marketing as well. And so there are all these activities now that the independent artists can do themselves without relying on a label, without relying on a manager. And the idea of the Beatchain platform is really just to give them one place where they can do all of this stuff in.
Right. That's really, really cool, because I think you're right. Technology has come such a long, long way. I mean, I used to hear people talk about, okay, let me get my mixtape and let me kind of like hand them out, right? And obviously we've gone way, way, way past those days. I wanted to quickly ask Joel. So I guess traditionally with a successful music career, it did kind of mean getting signed, getting to a label and kind of having them help you with everything, right? Are there still any kind of pros and cons, or maybe from your opinion, what are some of these pros and cons to maybe getting signed versus being independent as an artist?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it really depends on how much work you're prepared to do yourself, I guess, and then um, also, getting signed is a very broad statement. There's different sorts of labels, and every deal is different.
Hmm.
Um, so certainly, if we're looking at it from a sort of a music royalty point of view, um, if you sign to a label, they in a way they sort of own you, um,
Right.
and they control many aspects of your career. And one of them is obviously the earnings. So in a traditional label deal, a major label deal, they'll probably be taking, about 80% of the royalties from your music.
Crazy.
Obviously,
Wow.
yeah. Obviously, in exchange, you perhaps expect them to foot the bill for the recording, the distribution, and the marketing.
Hmm.
Um, but by comparison, if you're looking at sort of self DIY distribution, doing it yourself, then that normally ranges from you keep, you know, 85 to 100% of those royalties. So there's you do get a little bit of help, perhaps financially by going with the label, and certainly they'll pay for many things, but at the end of the day, you don't own your music essentially, um,
Hmm.
and own your masters, which has been a quite a big topic in recent weeks with Taylor Swift and
Yeah.
Kanye West. Don't own their music technically.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I wanted to dive a bit deeper in because you mentioned before that there are different types of deals. So, yeah, are there like specific categories with these kind of deals, or like how does that all work?
It really differs from label to label, and certainly there's a big difference between independent labels and the major labels.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's not just about the money. Um, Certainly, the big labels can be quite overbearing and dictate. When you're releasing music, they might say, sorry, we can't do your release this month. We're focusing on marketing
Hmm.
this bigger artist than you. And then you every so often you hear the stories of the labels deciding what you're going to release, how it should sound, and even extreme things like what you should be wearing. Um,
Yeah.
so that a big advantage of choosing the independent route is that you are in control of your career. You're in control of your brand.
Yeah. Actually, that's very interesting because like I don't know if you've heard Monster by JB and Shawn Mendes. They just released this a couple of days ago, and I think Shawn was talking about how he's finally reached a spot in his career where he can actually write about things that he actually wants. And so I think this is interesting, right? Because you're right, like with these labels, they almost have a bit of a leash on you, and they can kind of control like what you're doing, right? That's really 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 cool. So we've talked about what obviously as an independent artist, you've got free reign. You can obviously get more of the royalties from distribution. What do you think are some of the common struggles though for like an independent artist?
Um, I mean, at the moment, the pandemic certainly hasn't helped. The live music, like across the board for artists of all sizes, is the single biggest source of income
Mm,
for artists. And
right.
with venues closed all around the world, that's certainly going to be a big thing to overcome. Hopefully, the vaccine will help us all out here.
Mhm.
And then I think another problem is at the moment the recording music is quite undervalued by consumers. Um,
Ah,
if you think, but I think a lot of the streaming platforms will be paying out a third of a cent to a half of a cent per stream, and so it's particularly with that live revenue gone, it's a bit tricky to monetize your music at the moment. And there's a big campaign. I think it's hashtag Broken Record, which is pressuring to sort of radically shake up the way that artists are paid for streams. And most people who have a subscription to Spotify or to Apple, they're all paying about the same amount, which is like $10 to $15 a month.
Yeah.
Streaming service, and so it's very hard for any of them to hike the prices up a bit and say we're giving a little bit more to the artists, because Spotify aren't exactly making a big profit every year as it is.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, so you mentioned like a third of a cent or whatnot. Is that what actually goes directly into the pockets, or is there something else that gets taken out? Because I know in the music industry, everyone kind of has a hand on that kind of little bit of money. Is that what goes directly into the pockets of independents?
So it depends what sort of deal they're on. There are a couple of options in the DIY market. So you can use certain companies where you perhaps pay a yearly subscription, and they won't take any of the royalties. And then you have companies like us, like Beat Chain, where we don't charge you anything to get tracks up there on the major streaming services, but we take 10% of those royalties. And then there's a few different sort of ones in between those where it's a little bit more royalties or lower fee.
Right, you're right. So there are different models, which is awesome. So we've talked a bit about the kind of scene at the moment. I want to dive a bit deeper into BeatChain, because for someone creating music, it's an absolutely fantastic tool. What are some of the tools, especially in terms of, say, marketing and building an audience? Because I think for someone who's starting off, one of the really hard things is, can I even get people to listen to me? So what are some strategies or like ways you've got to maybe start building your audience?
Sure. So yeah, as I said, we've got a number of different tools which are sort of helping artists to take care of all the digital activities that they're expected to perform as part of their music career, to do that all in one place. And the one thing that runs through everything we do is analytics. It's showing for all this work, or perhaps all the money you're putting in, what you're actually getting out of it. And so our home screen, our big feature when you log in, is an insights dashboard, which pretty much shows you a very high level overview of what your fan bases look like. So every social media site, what your following looks like, actually how well each of your posts is performing, what playlists you're on, what playlists you could be on, whereabouts in the world your fans are. And that's very useful for making the right decisions in your career. And I think everyone likes vanity metrics, don't they?
Yeah. How did you manage finding or like tracking like playlists? So like, for example, like do you mean like if I'm like a Spotify playlist, you would pick that kind of data up?
Sure. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's really cool. I had no idea. And is that just like displayed as a metric, or do you show like all the kind of playlists you're on?
Yeah. So it's shown as a big list. We'll see not only what playlist you're on, but actually what position you are in that playlist. So obviously you want to be near the top, because
yeah,
where everyone starts in theory. Although obviously some people are on shuffle mode. And then on top of that, we'll actually look at playlists that you could be on. So we'll look at artists related to you, artists that are also listened to by your audience. This playlist has got 3 or 4 artists that you're related to on it. It's worth reaching out to the curator, and we'll tell you who the curator is.
Right, that's fantastic. And even now, like all I'm thinking is I've got so many independent artists that I've worked with, I've interviewed as well. I need to share this with them. This is such a fantastic tool. I mean, Like, because I personally, right, I was thinking the other day, playlist is a very great way to grow your audience because there are already existing people listening to that playlist. And chances are, if they hear your track on that, they're like, oh, this sounds pretty dope, save. Well, that's at least what I kind of do as a user. So I think that's a fantastic way to go. I wanted to kind of dive a bit deeper, maybe into retention, because I think it's great to build an audience, get these people on board listening to you. But how do you make sure that they kind of stay on board and kind of stick with you?
Yeah, so engagement's very important, and I'll talk through a couple of the other features. So we've got a social media management, sort of social media scheduler as part of the platform for Facebook and Twitter, which helps you to sort of keep the content going out regularly.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people struggle with, or they forget their login to one or more of the platforms and don't post anything for a little while. And then obviously, as we discussed, the distribution, getting music onto Spotify and Apple and all the major streaming platforms. And then you can also, we'll auto-generate a website from your existing sort of social media content and banners and stuff. We'll pull all that in and create a website with all the stuff that's really important to artists. So your latest releases, any tour dates you've got, will automatically pull them in from around the internet. Your biography from Spotify or whatever. So it's really quick to get a website up and running. And then we've got things like smart links. I'm sure you know what I mean, the things like Feature FM or Linktree. We have those so your audience can find your releases on various streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And you can do pre-save campaigns, and then we have this tool called the Fan Builder, which is we just gone through the beta testing, and it's basically a very simple way to place ads on Facebook and Instagram, which I didn't have much experience with Facebook Business Manager. But basically, it's a very, very complex, but very, very interesting tool from Facebook to use.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, to insert content into people's feeds on Facebook and on Instagram, who they own, which gives you a sort of a lot of choice, but it's not particularly user-friendly or optimized towards artists. And so what we've done is put a very sort of user-friendly front end onto the ads manager. So it's just really easy to place adverts optimized for artists to either your existing fans if you want to promote a show or promote some of your music or promote a pre-save, or to go out to audiences on Instagram and Facebook who we think are likely to engage with your music and might sort of follow you and hopefully buy and stream stuff later on.
Wow, fantastic. And I actually really think that's a really cool idea because I've tried using Facebook ads, and gosh, man, the system they've got is great because if you really know your stuff, you can do it right. But a lot of us, like artists, voice teachers, we're not really the type of people necessarily to be like very, very, very numbers driven. And so I wanted to kind of bring this up. So I understand that analytics is a crucial part of BitChain, and I think it's a fantastic tool for someone who isn't so kind of numbers focused or like isn't as good with numbers. Do you have any tips to kind of get them on the right direction so they can use these insights even better?
Sure. Yeah. So there's so much data available today that wasn't available before. So if you've ever sort of logged into your Spotify for Artists account, you'll probably see that there's loads of stuff showing you which tracks are doing well, whereabouts in the world your fans are, and likewise with Facebook, if you go into Business Manager, you can find out a lot of information about your fan base, about what they like, about what posted well. But it's all sort of, it's very sporadic, it's scattered around the internet, and so that's the important thing about our analytics dashboards, is that it brings it all in one place. You can actually understand what your fan base looks like.
Mm.
And you can see what places might be worth putting a show on. You can see which cities you're big in, which ads are doing well, and you should put more budget behind or less budget behind. As I said before, we'll score your posts based on the amount of engagement you got back, and so you can work out what your audience like and use that to give them more of the same. So yeah, if you're putting time and money into these activities, you really need to understand what you're getting out of each activity, and so for everything you do in BeatChain, we'll give you a nice little readout in terms that you can understand.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. So I think maybe to kind of even like put a different angle on that. So essentially, it's if you've got the data there in front of you, all you need to do is draw some kind of link on how to, for example, better interact with your audience. Because I think engagement at the end of the day is key. Being able to kind of build a proper connection with your audience, that's a great way to build new fans, because just through word of mouth, or even just keeping them on board. Because I think when you have a connection with someone, you're more likely to stay with them. So I think being able to not just see the insights as numbers, but a way to kind of drive these kind of new actions. That's the kind of way I've interpreted it so far. I'm super excited. I would love to see how BeatChain actually works, especially with a bit of a live demo. So for everyone who's kind of on this podcast at the moment, jump over to YouTube. So the YouTube has the full kind of breakdown with the demo. Joel, could you give us a bit of a rundown with BeatChain? Cool. Oh wow. All right.
Okay, so this is the insights dashboard, where you can see at a glance all of your sort of fan bases from around the internet, and you can keep track of how they're growing, or I think these are all growing, which is good. We're going downwards. And then you can sort of drill into these and get a little bit of deep dive information about each platform, and see which posts are doing particularly well. We'll score them based on the engagement they get back, and show you what the best thing is, and you might want to consider giving your audience a little bit more of the same. And likewise, we've got you can actually see at city level whereabouts your biggest fan bases are around the world.
Crazy. I love how simple this is, because I've played with a couple of platforms, right? And a lot of times it's quite hard to read, but I love this. As you say, is which posts are doing well, who are your fans. It's very, very straightforward. I love that.
Yeah, there are a few analytics options out there, but they're not necessarily particularly optimized for your average independent artist. Yeah. And yeah, so here's the playlist bit. You can see which playlists you've been added to, which ones you're on, how many followers they have, and whereabouts on the playlist you are. So 70 out of 75 here, you might not be getting too many plays unless people are on shuffle mode.
Right.
Yeah, and then oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just about to ask, do you guys have a breakdown on the plays per playlist? So for example, say if we're on this kind of first late night vibes playlist, do you guys track the views or the plays?
No, it's only the followers that we're showing at the moment.
Cool.
Hang on, here we go. You can click through and get a little bit more information about each playlist, or you can open it in Spotify.
I guess the follower count would be a great metric as well.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Fantastic.
And then yeah, this is all of the posts across all platforms. We just looked at Instagram before, so you can see which audiences are responding best to the same posts that you have perhaps across different platforms. And then this is the fan map, which breaks down into your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, your Spotify followers all around the world.
Looks really cool.
Yeah. And then we pull some things in from Spotify and Songkick, so artists that are similar to you and what their fan bases look like. So sorry about that.
Yeah, and I think this is a great way to also maybe, I'm just kind of thinking ideas for these kind of independent artists. Is you can also use this as a way to find potential people to collab with, just because obviously you've got these people who are very similar to you, right? And people like when kind of similar artists collab, like Shawn Mendes and JB. Wolf, that's a massive collaboration. But finding a person who's similar to you and getting collab and tapping into their audience, that would be really cool.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of opportunities to cross promote when you've identified someone who you have a lot in common with, and it seems that your fans have a lot in common with. It's definitely worth thinking about reaching out to them, and you have all this nice data backing you up.
Yeah.
And then finally on the insights, we've got playlists you could be on. So we'll look at your similar artists, and if say 2, 3, or 4 of them are on the same playlist that you're not on, then you might want to think about reaching out to the curators and seeing if you can get on there and say, hey, look at all these artists who are similar to me that are on your playlist. I think it'd be a great fit for it. So we'll tell you who the curator is of these particular playlists. You can look into reaching out to them.
Yeah, so I want to dive a bit deeper into that, Joel. So, like over there, it said it was curated by Spotify. So, how would you reach out and get onto this, or like say if it was like an independent person, do you have like the email or something?
So Spotify is a difficult one. You can't really reach out to them. I think that the only ways you can get onto Spotify playlists is to send them your release before it goes live via Spotify for artists. So they have a sort of pitching service. Whereas as long as your release gets to Spotify a week before the release date, you can pitch to various curators, and they might add it to that playlist if they like it. But you can't after it's gone live. I don't believe there's a way that you can actually pitch to the Spotify curators. But let's see if we can find a. These are all Spotify ones, aren't they?
They are pretty big.
There we go. So if there's one, here we go, Pop Filter. So we don't actually provide any contact information for them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you can go away and give them a little Google, look up their social media, whatever, and find someone to contact through that.
Yeah, but I think the cool thing about BeatChain already is it's a great place to get a head start. So it gives you insight on what you should be doing next, right? And I guess the opportunities is up to your own kind of imagination, what you can do with this data, which is really, really cool.
Sure. Yeah. You've got to work out what the best use of your time and money is. You can't just be sort of throwing stuff out there and seeing what sticks. It's really good to work out who your audience is and what sort of thing they respond to and where they're listening. All that important stuff.
Exactly. Joel, I would love to see Fan Builder because you were talking about that and it seems like it's a very, very awesome tool as well. Is that something we could see?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So as we're saying, it's just a really easy way to get campaigns going. It's all very templated so that you can just get campaigns going without having to worry about picking the exact audience and picking their exact hobbies and age demographics and if they like wine and football, whatever. If you did this through Facebook's ads manager, it's just completely overwhelming. And so what we've done is we've worked out what it is that works best for all these different types of campaigns, in terms of the targeting and in terms of the calls to action that you're using, and buttons that you're using. And we've you know, taken a lot of that difficult decision making away from the artist. So don't worry about that. So we've got a list of different campaigns here. So we've got Instagram growth and Facebook growth. These are for targeting sort of complete strangers who have certain characteristics that we think would make them likely to listen to stuff in your genre, or they're interested in similar artists to you. And then we have a couple of campaigns which are designed to hit your own fans. So things like promoting a release or promoting a pre-save campaign. Here we have this is a pre-save that's been built in BeatChain, and you just sort of straight away just put in a bit of copy. You can upload some different media if you want, if you have a video, and just get a campaign going really easily, starting from amounts of, you know, £5 a day, rather than, you know, back in the old industry, advertising might involve, you know, paying for a massive billboard or paying for radio play or paying for a little TV spot or whatever. And so it's just really easy to start advertising for really small amounts of money. And we don't have any insights yet, but once that gets going, we'll show you sort of the really personal, the really important parts of the results, so you can, you know, easily make a decision. Do I put more money behind this? Do I put less money behind this? Or do I just stop it altogether?
That's fantastic. So I wanted to quickly ask in terms of targeting then. So is there any particular kind of levers or whatnot you can tweak, or is it by choosing the campaign goals you automatically kind of filter it for these kind of independents?
Yeah, so we pretty much deal with all of that ourselves. So for the Instagram growth campaign, you don't really get much say in where it goes to. We'll work all of that out from what social media profiles you've connected to BeatChain. So as you go through the onboarding, we'll get you to put in all of your various social media channels and connect a few accounts. And from that, we'll work out who are the best people to target, what the best demographics to target, to find new fans for you. So yeah, that we will be introducing a little bit more customizability on the targeting, particularly on sort of the location of the fans. But at the moment, we're keeping it really super simple, so you don't have to worry about all that targeting. And then for the promoting your releases, obviously you don't want to be sending your original music out to complete strangers, ideally. Who's this person? Who's this person to click a link or whatever? So we focus on warm audiences for this. So it's either people that already follow your page on Facebook or Instagram, or people that have, you know, interacted with your content in the past. So, you know, liked a video or even just, you know, watched a minute of your video or whatever. So it's people that we know are aware of you and have interacted positively with you in the past. And that ensures that you get the most bang for your buck, rather than showing your original material to people who never heard of you before.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think what I love already is you've taken a lot of the guesswork out for, say, someone who, because for example, if I just started making music, I want to get my name out there, it is such a burden to then have to learn all these other bit of insights, learn how how to target and all that. But it seems like you guys have done most of the groundwork for a lot of people out there, which is awesome, because I can just come in and go, I really want to kind of grow my Instagram. Bam. That's very nice and simple. I love it. I love it. Love it. Cool. Awesome. So maybe as we kind of reached the end of the session, I want to quickly ask, what's the pricing like for BeatChain for those who are interested?
Sure. So you can sign up for free. You can distribute your music for free. You can get all those the insights we were looking at earlier for free. And you can get sort of post scheduling for Facebook and Twitter. That's all for free. And then we've got some premium features. So if you want to sort of start a mailing list and send out emails when you've got, say, a new release, or you've got a show coming up, or you just want to sort of give some exclusive content out to your most engaged fans, that's a great way of making sure your message gets into the inbox. On social media, all these algorithms are deciding who actually sees your organic posts, and I think it's something like only 10 or 20% of your followers are actually going to see any given post that you put out, whereas emails are a really great way of making sure they see that. And so this is part of the our premium package, which includes link sharing and pre-saves, the email marketing, and you also get a instant website out of that. So we'll be pulling the stuff from your social media accounts, from your Spotify, from your song kicking bands in town, to show you to show people where they can come and see, and then your music will show you whereabouts people can find it on the internet, pull in the videos from YouTube, and like your about section from Spotify. So you can get a website up really easily. And so all of this, the website builder, the email marketing, and the smart links and the pre-saves is $15 or £15 a month.
Only? That's fantastic.
Yes. So maybe the price of I don't know, a singing lesson a month or whatever.
Because I've actually used like mailing lists, and even just that itself could be that price or more, if anything.
Yes, you can pay a lot of money for the individual tools, and I think analytics as well, which we do for free. There are some services which we're talking hundreds of pounds a month. And so then we also have the Superstar plan, which includes the fan builder, which we're looking at just now. So it's all of those premium features and the fan builder on top, and that's for $20 a month or £20.
Right. It's a steal, because I think even if someone just signs on for the free features, there's still so much that you guys are offering, which is amazing. And really, right, if you can, it's less than a cup of coffee a day to go for these kind of things, which is, would you prefer a cup of coffee or to grow your career? The choice is yours. So lovely, Joel. This is amazing. I'm very stoked to kind of share this with my audience, because I think it's such a fantastic tool. Before we end, if the audience, if our listeners could only action one thing for today, because there's been quite a lot of very helpful kind of insights, what would you leave them with, Joel?
I think the big message that we've put out there is, for an independent artist, stop waiting to be discovered, and take your career into your own hands. We get a lot of people, especially on our distribution service, who think putting a song out there onto Spotify is like a sort of talent show, and all the A&R people from the various record labels will be checking it out just because you put it on Spotify. But it's I think last year was something like 40,000 tracks a day go up on Spotify, and there's an A&R team that's going to be trawling through that every day. And so if you want people to be seeing your music, or listening to your music, you need to be showing them where it is, and that's I think that's a mindset with a lot of artists that we need to overcome. That you need to be showing people where to find the music, and you need to be warming them up to make them more perceptive to listening to it. I think a lot of people will say, here's the product, and I'm going to use this to get fans. But the better way of doing that is to get the fans first, and then to point them towards the product.
Cool. Joel, it was amazing speaking with you. Yeah, there's so many little kind of value bombs you've dropped. Well, where can our audience find you, or say, for example, BeatChain?
Sure. So you can find us on our Instagram page at BeatChain, and then we have a more educational based Instagram called Artist Growth Tips. That's artist_growth_tips. You can come and sign up for free at beatchain.com and use quite a few of the tools. And then if you want to think about trying some of the premium stuff, you can. And if you want to have a look through sort of a lot of the educational stuff we put together, you can go to beatchain.com/blog, and there's loads of sort of helpful resources for independent artists and understand the industry and stuff like that.